Hi, and welcome back to the SolidCAM mill turn training videos. In this video, we're going to start picking apart some of the milling features that we need to accomplish on this part. And for this first video, what we're going to do is focus on these faces. Doing a preliminary examination of the model itself, if I were to highlight this edge here and highlight this edge here, I can see that this is at an 8 mm spacing. So here we can come in with a smaller tool and come down and climb cut on both of the edges there. But in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to grab an 8 mm tool to drive the center line of that groove to rough and finish that face. To select the operation, I'm going to go to my profile option in the 2D 2.5 axis tab. I'm going to go into profile, and from Mac 1 position 1 or the primary initial alignment, I'm going to come in and capture some new geometry. Now, for this first example, what we're going to do is we're going to come in and select this edge that I want to machine. Now, because of the switches that I have set, I'm set to tangent propagation at a constant Z level. It went around and it chased the entirety of everything that it saw that was at the same Z level that was tangent. I do like one of those edges. I don't need the other three. So I'm going to go over to that chain. I'm going to right click on it and go into edit. And then I'll use this undo back step to kind of back it up to where I want the chain to stop. And then I can include that only into my toolpath. Once I have the geometry selected, I'm going to go in and select a tool. In this case, this is tool 71 from my toolkit. So I'm going to go ahead and select tool 71 and then go into my levels tab. So when I go into my levels tab, you're going to notice that a couple things here. The upper level is already defined and it projected that chain to the zero plane, which is correct. That's where the upper level list cut is going to start. It also picked up on the depth, but I'm going to re-solidify this by just clicking in this field, coming out and clicking on that face, and that's going to make that a persistent ID as well. So that if there was a design change to this model and that face were to move up or down, my toolpath is now associated to that face and it will follow that face. Here I might go to my link tab. I might want to lead in and lead out with a line. So I'm going to tell it that I want to come in tangent to the cut, and I'll give it a 5 mm tangent extension on the lead in and make the lead out the same. Let's get something out on the screen so we can look at it. And it's going to come out and it's going to give us one cut that deals with the center line of that groove. Now, because I want to take this in a couple of depth cuts, I'm going to revert back to the technology tab, and then we're taking one finish cut. I might give it here a step down of, let's say, 2.5 mm and recalculate that operation to give me two cuts now that deal with that face. Now, to include the other features of this part, if I go back to the geometry tab, instead of creating new, I'm going to go into edit, and I want to include the other entities of the other groove. So I can come out and capture this edge here. Again, right click on the second chain this time, go into edit, and just back that chain up to where I want that chain to stop. And then capture that into the toolpath. And then at the same time, I can then pick up this other edge here as well. And so once I have that edge collected in, I will go ahead and accept that and recalculate, and it will give me an operations that will deal with those faces. Now, to show you an alternative method, because there's more than one way of doing the same type of job. So if we were to take a look at the part again, if I were to analyze this edge right there and compare it to this edge over here, I can see that this is at a 95-degree rotation angle. If I were to take that original one as well and capture this one over here too, I can see that that's at 10 degrees. Respectively, that would be 190-degree rotation on the secondary option there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my geometry tab and I'm going to go into edit, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to delete those secondary chains. So I'm just going to highlight chain 3 and delete it, highlight chain 2 and delete it. So now we're back to its original single slot that we had done on the part. So from this geometry tab, there's this little button right here called transformation. Inside the transformation, you can enter different types of transformations depending on what the part gives you. And in this case, I want to use a 4-axis move. I want to include the original operation, so the one that we've done, I want to keep that one, and I'm going to give it a rotation angle. So in this case here, the first angle that we analyzed was 95 degrees. I will insert that in, and you'll see it takes that and makes a copy of it in the correct location. I can then go ahead and give me my 190 degrees for the third one, insert that as well. and then capture that in. And when I save this, that toolpath has now been updated to include the other two. So whichever way that you choose to select the geometry is up to you. Just understand is that there's more than one way of dealing with geometry like this. And again, your personal preference is yours. You make it what you want it to be. If I were to take this operation into Solid Verify will load the chuck. It will allow me to see if I have any issues with the particulars of my parameters that I might want to change. I like that result there. From the main operations list now, I can take this into machine simulation, and that will bring all the operations in so we can review everything that we've done up to this point, including those MCOs that we introduced inside of the last video. So if I were to play this now, you're going to see the various operations, and I get a good simulation to show that I've got no collisions between any of the working components inside of the environment. Thank you for watching this video, and please come back to the next videos and I'll be happy to show you some more features. Have a great day.